Hey, what's going on guys, and welcome back to the Focus School Guides. If this is the first video you're watching, I'm making one of these for each Focus School. So if you're interested in another school, check out those other videos. But this video is going to be going over Madurai. Madurai is the damage Focus School. If your only purpose in life is doing crazy damage, look no further than Madurai. And because Madurai is so good for damage, it is the go-to Focus School for hunting Eidolons, which if you guys don't know is one of the best ways to both get focus and also get great rewards like arcanes. Not only will Madurai buff both your base physical and elemental damage, it also has an ability called Void Strike that will buff both your weapon and your operator's damage by a crazy amount. Void Strike is one of the only ways to increase operator damage, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But for this video, I'm going to start by going over each ability in Madurai and showing examples of most of them, and then I'll show what my recommended tree is at the end of the video. But let's start by going over two of the most basic but very good abilities in Madurai, and that's Phoenix Talons and Phoenix Spirit. Phoenix Talons increases your physical damage by 25%. This bonus doesn't apply to your operator, but it will apply to weapons that you have equipped, meaning that this allows you to get a 25% passive damage boost while you have it active. Similarly, Phoenix Spirit provides a 25% boost to elemental damage. So as long as you have this node active, you're going to get that 25% passive boost. Hopefully those are pretty self-explanatory. Now the first real Madurai ability I'm going to talk about is Void Radiance. Void Radiance is the worst node on Madurai, and that's because as you level it up, it consumes more and more energy upon leaving Void Mode, and blinds enemies within up to a 10-meter radius for up to 5 seconds. And because of this additional energy cost upon leaving Void Mode, I'd recommend you don't invest points into this. As you can see here, as I invest additional points into my Void Radiance, it's going to consume more and more energy whenever my operator comes out of Void Mode. I don't really understand the design choice from the developers, where investing more points into a skill costs you additional energy. The blind here is really mediocre at best. I mean, Warframes like Gara have an innate blind as long as she's standing in bright light, so having an ability like Void Radiance that actively hurts you to use just doesn't make sense. And I'll talk about why this is bad in a second when we go over Void Strike. If you've already invested in Void Radiance, it's not a huge deal, but it is best if you simply unlock it in order to use Void Strike instead of investing points into it. As you can see, I have over 500,000 unspent Madurai focus, and I haven't leveled this up yet. Alright, now that we've gone over the worst ability, let's look at the best ability, Void Strike. Void Strike is the signature ability of Madurai, and that's because upon entering Void Mode, you charge up a percent additional damage for up to the next 8 additional attacks at max level. Meaning that whenever you crouch in your operator mode, you're going to receive a stacking damage buff so long as you remain that way. Now the reason the previous ability, Void Radiance, is so bad to level is because you want to maximize the amount of buff you're going to get from Void Strike. And if for any reason your operator leaves Void Mode while you're trying to charge, you're going to lose operator energy to Void Radiance, which then translates into less time for you to charge Void Strike. Now once you do have the buff, your next 8 additional attacks are going to count for both your operator and your Warframe, meaning that you can use Void Strike to buff your damage to crazy levels. To show this off, I sat in the simulacrum in Void Mode for like half an hour until I got a 200% damage buff. I was kind of curious to see how high I could go, but 200% was more than enough already, and I didn't really want to sit around for too much longer. In almost all gameplay scenarios, this is not realistic, but I thought it would be fun to do, so hopefully you guys enjoy seeing crazy damage. So I spawned some level 155 corrupted bombards, and then used my Vault with my Lanka to shoot them in the head. I also put a Volt Shield down for that extra 200% crit damage and 50% lightning damage. It's a little hard to see, but I'm hitting those bombards for over 10 million damage with one of my shots. Now the way Void Strike works is it only enhances one of your shots, so if you have multi-shot on a weapon, it's only going to count for one of the pellets. However, even though only one bullet is getting enhanced, you're still going to do lots of damage as long as your Void Strike stacks are fairly high. Not 200 times, but maybe like 10. 10 is quite high for a Void Strike stack. And if you watch in the upper right hand corner, you can see that as I shoot, the number of shots I'm able to enhance is decreased by 1. So it'll go from 8, 7, 6, and so on until it's completely removed. Re-entering into Void Mode while you have a stack up will only add to the additional damage of your stacks and not increase the number of shots you're given. So if you go down to 4 shots and then you enter Void Mode again, it'll increase your bonus damage, not the number of shots you have remaining. Now to show a more realistic example of how players use this ability in the game, let's look at a public Eidolon capture that I queued up for his Bolt. All the footage you're about to see is used with the same tree I just showed you. I don't have any of the waybounds active, or any of the other Madurai abilities. And if you're curious, this is the build for my Volt, and the build for my Lanka that I'm using in the footage. Now the main purpose of Void Strike in regular gameplay is to boost operator damage against the Eidolon shields. If you're struggling with just dealing damage to the Eidolons in general, Void Strike will also boost your Warframe's damage against the Synovas and the Eidolon itself. But the main purpose of it is getting the shields down as fast as possible. To give a clean example of just how much Void Strike can increase operator damage, I used that 200 stack from earlier to shoot some level 155 corrupted bombards. As you can see, it does tons and tons of damage to them, whereas by comparison an operator with no stacks does almost nothing. Now you can translate this to the Eidolon fight as well. Most times during the fight, if you're not in an organized group, you're probably going to sit around anywhere from a 2 to 10 damage multiplier. And just by having that amount, you're going to be able to take the Eidolon shields down extremely fast. Which, if you've ever done Eidolons yourself, the shields are definitely the part of the fight that takes the longest. And having Void Strike stacks as your operator allows you to speed up this phase greatly. And like I said, it'll also boost your damage against the Synovas in the Eidolon. So if you're struggling there, then Madurai will help you with your damage. And if you are in an organized group where one person is Madurai and one person is Unaru, I'll talk more about the Unaru focus school during that video, but what you need to know for this is that Unaru is able to spawn wisps that when picked up, increase your operator damage by 100%. This can be stacked with Void Strike to then one-shot Eidolon shields. And if you're in an organized group, you can do this consistently. Void Strike itself is definitely one of the more complicated focus abilities. So if you guys have any questions about this, or I didn't cover something about this ability that you have a question about, please leave a comment below. But I hope this has given you guys a good idea of at least how Void Strike works and what makes it so strong. Now, by comparison, the rest of the Madurai abilities are probably going to look a little lackluster. Flame Blast is an augment to your operator's Void Blast that basically just sends out a ball of fire, dealing up to 250% increased damage, and explodes after 0.6 seconds. The damage that this causes is really mediocre. It is kind of cool that you can shoot out fireballs with your operator, and it does make your Void Blast sound pretty cool, but that's really it. It can be used at low levels if you want, but for the most part, I don't really like Void Blast myself. However, Flame Blast does give your Void Blast a little larger range by shooting out a fireball. Rising Blast is again an augment to your Void Blast that allows you to charge up your Void Blast and then release it for up to 200% increased damage. Besides making you feel like Goku, this is pretty mediocre. Blazing Dash, on the other hand, is a very good ability similar to Executing Dash that I went over in the Naramon video. Blazing Dash now causes your Void Dash to stun instead of ragdolling enemies. And anything that allows you to control where the enemies are better is good in my book. It also will leave behind a trail of fire that can deal up to 1000 damage a second over 14 seconds. This can be pretty useful for a variety of situations, including killing the Vombalists while fighting the Eidolons without expending Void Strike stacks. And especially because this causes Void Dash not to displace enemies, I think it's very good. Meteoric Dash is also an augment to Void Dash that increases its damage when you contact enemies. Overall, this isn't the most exciting ability, but it does add a little bit of damage to your Void Dash, so if you have the focus pool, I'd recommend taking it. And then finally, we have Inner Gaze and Eternal Gaze. These are the waybound passes for Madurai. Inner Gaze increases your energy for your amps and Void Beam by up to 40%. And then Eternal Gaze increases the energy regeneration for your amps and Void Beam up to 60%. These passive nodes work together to basically just allow you to fire your amps more often, which then translates into more DPS against things like the Eidolons. As you can see from each of these examples, it's not really going to alter your playstyle too much. It'll just give you the ability to attack with your operator more often. If you're just looking for my recommended Madurai build, then this is it. You want to make sure that you have Phoenix Spirit, Void Strike, and Blazing Dash, as well as the 2 unbound passives. If you have the focus pool, you can also pick up Meteoric Dash, Flame Blast, and Rising Blast if you want. This is simply my bare bones recommended build. And of course, pick up as many waybound passives as possible if you have the focus pool. But that's going to do it for this video, going over the Madurai Focus School. If you guys are curious about the Volt Eidolon hunting build, I'm going to be doing a full video over that, and a few other Eidolon builds as well. So look forward to those videos. I hope you guys found this useful in understanding the Focus School, and if you did, please leave a like on the video. I'm going to be making more videos like this, so if you guys want to see more, hit that subscribe button. That's it for me. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching.